Welcome back everyone. Today I'll be visiting Illinois, the land of Lincoln, the Prairie State as they call it, home to Chicago and also some very creepy stories. In today's video we'll be visiting cities and towns, cemeteries and swamps, beasts and ghouls alike. Illinois has it all. Let's look at the best stories from there. My name is Danny Burke and this is the top 10 scary Illinois urban legends. Starting off at number 10 now we have the Clown Graveyard. With a name like that you probably think it's a metaphor for something, but the name is literal and the story is tragic. In Forest Park, Illinois lies Woodlawn Cemetery. Some of the graves there are marked by elephant statues. An engraving at the base of one large elephant is inscribed with the words Showman's League of America. All of the graves are marked with the same death date, June 22nd, 1918. On that fateful night, members of the Hagenbeck Wallace Circus were asleep in the rear cars of a train that was passing through the area. At 4 a.m. they stopped in the town of Hammond, Indiana to cool an overheated axle box. Little did they know that right behind them a train driver had fallen asleep at the helm of his empty military train. He missed all the automatic signals and flares that warned him of the stalled train. He smashed right into the wooden circus cars. The survivors tried to scramble out, but soon the train lanterns had ignited the wreckage. It's thought that up to 110 circus employees were killed. They were buried in the mass graves. Many of the victims' names were not even known, so some of the markings have engravings like Baldy, 4-horse driver, or unidentified male. They say that their restless spirits still haunt the graveyard. Apparently they are also joined with the spirits of some of the circus elephants that died. Locals say that to this day the sound of phantom elephants can be heard at night, which I think is a lot creepier than humans. I don't know. Moving on to number 9 now guys, we have the Thunderbirds. I wish this one was about the nice puppet show that I used to watch as a kid, but it's not. The Thunderbirds are creatures that many people have seen in Illinois, giant birds with wingspans of up to 20 feet. One famous local legend in the town of Alton is that of the Piasa bird, a name given by the Illinois Native Americans meaning bird that devours a man. Now that gives you guys a little clue as to why people fear them. Although the legend has existed for hundreds of years, things took a turn in the 1970s. In 1973, Ruth Lowe was cleaning up after her family had dinner in Lawndale, Illinois. The kids were playing outside when she heard a piercing scream and knew it was her son. When she ran outside, she saw two massive birds flying in formation and chasing her son, pecking and clawing at his shoulders. The larger one sunk its claws right into his shirt and lifted him off the ground. Ruth managed to fight them off and release her son, but only after they carried him a distance of over 35 feet. Locals believe that this was a modern day sighting of some Thunderbirds, mythical creatures who have been mentioned in Native American stories for hundreds of years and now seem to be scaring a lot of people in the area. Next, number 8 now, we have Bloods Point Road. Drive about an hour and a half northwest of Chicago and you can find Bloods Point Road. It's been the focus of a number of paranormal investigations over the years, and not just because of its creepy name. Locals say that as you drive along it, trees begin to look like humans standing guard. Now they say they stretch out in an effort to grab you. You might think that sounds creepy, but they say that the trees are just attempting to warn you of things to come if you choose to continue down that road. Others say that the trees themselves are haunted, that ghosts congregate there. They say that if you're hidden, you can even watch the ghosts moving between the trees. All of this isn't helped by the fact that the road is home to the Bloods Point Cemetery. Legend says that actual hellhounds guard the cemetery gates. These evil dogs appear out of nowhere and attack visitors before instantly disappearing. On dark nights with a full moon, they've even been known to wander out of the cemetery and down Blood Points Road. Perhaps that's what the trees were warning against. Moving on to number 7 now, we have the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. For 2 weeks in 1934, the residents of Mattoon, Illinois were terrorized by a killer known only as the Mad Gasser. On August 31st, a man called Urban Rafe awoke to a strange smell in his bedroom that made him physically ill. He woke his wife up, who wondered if there might perhaps be a problem with the gas downstairs. When she tried to get up though, she found that she couldn't move her legs. The symptoms went away after a while though, and she found there was nothing wrong with the gas. Nearby, that exact same night, a woman went to check on her daughter, but found that she too was paralyzed from the waist down. The next night, a similar thing happened to another woman. The police began investigating, but found no clues. The local newspapers suggested that there was a madman out in the dark, creeping around and pumping this paralyzing gas into people's homes. He became known as the Mad Gasser. The panic in the town reached such levels that even the FBI got involved, but they too were unable to find a culprit. Reports have died down in the decades since, but some residents are on alert for a copycat Mad Gasser. Coming at number 6 now, we have the Enfield Horror. In April 1973, residents of Enfield, Illinois were all talking about a creature simply known as the Enfield Horror. On April 25th, a boy was attacked in his backyard by a creature with T-Rex-like arms, short claws, pink eyes, grey slimy skin and 3 legs. Later, the creature tried breaking into a neighbour's home where it was shot by a man named Henry McDaniel with a .22 caliber pistol. As the media picked up on the story, a news director for WWKI radio claimed to have actually taped the monster's screams as it ran off. He said he saw the creature cover 50 to 85 feet with just 3 leaps and then vanish out of sight. The police dismissed the reports and discouraged hunters from trying to find the creature. Others ignored the warnings and began investigating. Some parallels were found between the creature's description and some similar reports from the nearby town of Mount Vernon. Those reports came from the 1940s, leading some people to believe that this creature appears every 40 to 50 years, which I think means we are due for the return of the Enfield Horror right about now. Moving on to number 5 now, we have the Murfreesboro Mud Monster. In 1973, a young couple was parked by a desolate river in Murfreesboro, Illinois for a romantic night. Suddenly, a huge, wet, hairy beast just climbed out of the water. It was covered in mud. It let out a piercing roar which they would later say sounded like an eagle shrieking into a microphone. The couple fled without waiting to find out what it would do to them. For the next 2 weeks though, the whole town was in panic mode as more and more people had encounters with the huge albino beast which came to be known as the Big Muddy Monster. When police investigated, they found huge prints in the ground which seemed to match the size that others had described. When an officer leant down to inspect the print, he heard a horrifyingly shrill screech nearby. The police chief of the town said in an interview, "A lot of things in life are unexplained and this is another one. We don't know what the creature is, but we do believe what these people saw was real." Moving on to number 4 now, we have the Chesterfield Witch. Near the town of Arcola, in what is now known as Amish country, lies the small town of Chesterfield. Its cemetery is said to be home to a witch. Legend says that in life she stood up for the women who were being mistreated in the Amish community. In retaliation, they labelled her a witch and actually accused her of worshipping the devil. The community elders banished her. After that, nobody heard from her. She just disappeared completely. A while later, her body was found in a nearby field. They labelled her death as just down to natural causes and took her to a local funeral home. They put her body on display as a sort of attraction for locals to come and see a real witch. Eventually, after they had their fun, the woman was buried and a tree planted near her grave. In the years since, a deep superstition has grown around that tree. They say that it has bound her spirit to that grave. Legend says that if the tree ever dies, her spirit will be free to seek revenge upon the Amish community who banished her and displayed her body for entertainment. Some say that they've seen her spirit just standing over the grave, patiently waiting for the tree to die. Next up at number 3 now, we have the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. On Valentine's Day 1929, 6 gang members in Chicago were lined up and shot by 4 unknown assailants. It's thought that famous mobster Al Capone ordered the killings in an attempt to control organized crime in the city. 2 of the killers opened fire with Tommy guns, spraying the victims left and right, and even continuing to fire after all 7 had hit the floor. They even went round with a shotgun and blew off 2 of the victims' faces. They were brutal murders that shocked the city, and for decades after, dark tourists could actually go and visit the site and see the bullet holes in the brick wall which the men were lined up along and shot. When the building was finally demolished in 1967, the bricks with the bullet holes in were sold to various people, and some people claim they were haunted. The various owners complained of bad luck from the day they first bought these bricks. It got so bad that some of them even returned the bricks to the original site, hoping to break the curse. Even today, some Chicago residents describe a negative energy when they walk past the parking lot where the building once stood. They hear gunshots and see floating orbs, a reminder of this bloody massacre from all those years ago. Next up at number 2 now, we have the Farmer City Monster. In the spring of 1970, 3 sheep were killed near the town of Farmer City, Illinois. Officials put it down to just wild dogs. Soon after, 4 teens parked up in a nearby area of the woods. They got the fright of their life when a huge huge, hairy humanoid with piercing yellow eyes approached the vehicle. Somehow, their flashlights were enough to scare this creature away, and the teens quickly fled the scene. The two boys of the group returned later though to investigate, and again they encountered the creature. This time they noticed the smell. It was nauseating and actually forced them to retreat. The police found an area of flattened foliage which they thought was the creature's nest. Over the next 2 weeks, a number of sightings occurred, including one by a police officer and another by some construction workers. They said the creature sprinted out of the woods and crossed the road in front of their van. When the sightings were looked at on a map, some people thought that it showed the creature was on the move, heading northwest. If this was true, perhaps it's moved on. Perhaps it's reached its destination because it hasn't been seen since in the area, but locals say they are ready for its return. And finally at number 1 now, we have Moon Point Cemetery. This is an old Civil War cemetery which has become an obsession of ghost hunters all over Illinois. It began as a family cemetery for a settler called Jacob Moon, but over the centuries it was eventually used by everyone. Of all the spirits said to haunt this place, one of them is perhaps the most famous, the Hatchet Lady. She's been seen carrying a hatchet while watching over her son's grave. She's also been known to shout at visitors to get out whenever they step too close to the area. Now on top of all that, the graveyard is also said to be home to the ghostly spirit of a young boy. Perhaps it's her son. There's even been sightings of multicolored orbs and light, and also the sound of coffin lids opening and closing in the dark. No thank you. But thank you guys for watching this video. Are any of you guys from Illinois? How did I do on this one? Would you like more? We can do a part 2, or we can do a whole new state. Although I have been doing these sorts of videos for quite a while now, there are still so many more states in America to choose from. Thanks for watching as always guys. My name is Danny Burke and I will see you all in the next video.